In this video, we'll take a look at some built-in Python functions that relate to sequences such as iterables. So we're talking about a list or a tuple or possibly even a dictionary. So let's head over to PyScripter and check them out. Let's create a list. We'll just call it my list. Set it equal to our square brackets. I'll put in 10, 17, 6, 32, 45, 7. Hit enter. We can use the sorted and supply in my list. And we can see we have it sorted from lowest to the highest value. We'll call sorted again. We'll supply in my list and we'll set the reverse parameter to equal true. And this will sort descending. We can see it going from the largest down to the smallest number. There is also a built-in function called reversed. And if we put in my list, I'll hit enter. You can see we are getting this reverse iterator object. As it's an iterator object, we know we can use a for loop over it. So we'll say for value in reversed my list. Let's print the value. And we can see it started at 7, which is at the end of our list, and it's iterated backwards over our list all the way through to our first entry. You could also call the list function and supply in the reversed function, which will return our iterator and convert it to a list. Enter, and we can see our list has been reversed. We've got it in reverse order. We saw enumerate in a couple of videos. Enumerate adds a counter to an iterable and returns it as an enumerate object. If I called enumerate and stuck in my list, hit enter, we can see we have an enumerate object. We could wrap that enumerate in a list function. Not list, my list. Hit enter. So we can see that enumerate returns a list of tuples at its heart. We have 0, which is the first element in the list. So enumerate begins at 0, and this is 10. And then the second element is 17, the third element is 6, and so on. We would generally use enumerate with a for loop, and we would unpack each tuple. So we need two variables for index value in enumerate my list, print the index and the value. So we're going to iterate over my list using enumerate. We can see here enumerate returns a tuple for each iteration. We are unpacking each tuple. The first element in each tuple becomes the index, and the second element becomes the value, and we're printing the index and value each time. So we'll run that and we can see we get the index and value. Now you can start enumerate at any number you wish. In the enumerate function, after the iterable, we put a comma and we can start at 2, 1, or any number you want. We run and we can see the index begins at that starting value. The last one we'll take a look at is the zip function. We have our list that contains 6 elements. Let's create a tuple, my tuple, and we'll just set this to equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hit enter, and if we call zip, and we'll put in my tuple as the first entry, comma, and we'll add in my list, and hit enter. You see we get this zip object. We could wrap that in a list function. I'll just copy our zip here and paste in and hit enter. And you can see this is aggregated elements from the two iterables. The first element is from my tuple. So we've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the second element is from my list. So we have 10, 17, 6, 32, 45, and 7. And it has just matched the indexes. So this was at index 0 in each of them. This was at index 1 in each of them, and so on. I suppose what happens if there are less elements in one than the other? Well, let's check that out. We will take one element out of my tuple and we will run the zip once more. So you can see it only aggregated where there was a crossover in the elements. So 6 and 7 were not included in this output here. And you can use zip with 2 or more iterables. One thing to notice is that these built-in functions did not alter our original list. Our original list remained in this order, even though we called sorted and we called reversed. If I print my list to screen, it remains the same way as when we created it. So we'll go sorted, my list, hit enter, and print my list to screen, and it remains the same. So the built-in function is not overwriting the original data. We could say my sorted list as a variable and set that to equal sorted my list. And now we can call the my sorted list and we have it sorted, but the original has remained as is. Now this is different if we call my list dot sort, which is the list method. Now I call my list. It has altered our list. So just note there's a difference between the built-in functions and the list methods. In this video, we took a look at 4 built-in functions that relate to iterables in Python. We saw the sorted returns a sorted list from the iterable. Reversed returns a reverse iterator that we could convert to a list, and we can use a for loop to just iterate through the reverse iterator. We checked out enumerate that we have seen in this course previously, and that adds a counter to an iterable and it returns an enumerate object. That enumerate object is basically a tuple containing the enumerate value and the value from the iterator. And then we saw zip, which allowed us to aggregate elements from 2 or more iterables into a list of tuples. It was noted that the built-in functions did not amend or alter the original data, whereas the built-in list methods alters the original.